What is good, Raider Nation? This is your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this one, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. Today's video, I wanted to talk about the good and the bad that I saw from the Raiders week 1 preseason performance against the Minnesota Vikings. So let's just jump right into it. Let's start with the good. Now the first positive takeaway that I saw from last week's game was just the overall quarterback play. Going into this preseason matchup, that was going to be a huge thing that we all analyzed, was how Gardner Minshew and how Aiden O'Connell would play in this game. We all know we have a legit quarterback battle on our hands, and I like to see that both quarterbacks stepped up to the plate and played some good football out there. Aiden O'Connell looked really sharp and efficient in his first drive. Was able to get the ball where he needed to. Good ball placement, good accuracy. And Gardner Minshew just went out there and just kind of showcased what kind of player he is. He's more of a gambler. He's more of a gunslinger in that sense. He was able to make plays happen down the field. Got some big chunk plays. Got a nice touchdown pass to DJ Turner. Hit him right in stride. Now there were certain plays though where instead of staying in the pocket or stepping up in the pocket, he ended up rolling to his right. And a lot of times he got in trouble that way. So that's something that he's going to have to clean up. He can't be doing that too often. But more times than not, he also showed his ability to use his legs to scramble, to get a first down, and also to be able to step up and roll out and throw on the move. But overall, I liked how the quarterbacks fared out this week. They both looked good out there. And that was definitely something that I was a little bit concerned about as well too, because jumping back into training camp, the consistent news was that the Raiders defense was consistently dominating the Raiders offense and that the quarterbacks were struggling. So it was nice to see that they were playing good. They'll have to continue that next week against the Dallas Cowboys, where Antonio Pierce has stated that he wants to name the starter after next week's game. So a lot on the line for both the quarterbacks. Now, jumping on to another positive takeaway that I took from this game, we're going to stay on the offensive side of the football. And that's just the offensive tackles, rookie DJ Glaze, and also Thayer Munford. Now, DJ Glaze looked very impressive at the right tackle spot. He had a lot of good reps, especially in pass protection. And it's really nice to see. The guy has good fundamentals. He showed a good use of his hands, and he really didn't give up any big plays. Now, towards the end of the game, they did switch him back to left tackle, and he did give up 1 sack. Now, with DJ Glaze, though, I will say this is kind of a theme. I mean, you look at his college tape, he struggled a lot more at left tackle compared to right tackle. I think his future is going to be right tackle, potentially right guard as well. But, I mean, so far what we saw in that first week, he looked good out there at right tackle, so he very well is showing good strides and just a very solid starting point to his career. And if he can just continue to build off of this, the Raiders should have their future right tackle for years to come. But I like what I saw from DJ Glaze. He looked really solid out there. Also, another player that looked pretty good, Thayer Munford. The first drive he was in at right tackle, I thought he did pretty good. But where I also really liked him was at left tackle. Essentially in the second quarter, we went with the rotation of having Thayer Munford at left tackle, DJ Glaze at right tackle. And both those two played very well in those drives with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. So that's one thing I definitely liked from Thayer Munford, is I feel like we have a solid backup plan in case Kolton Miller isn't 100% to start in the season, or if he ever were to go down this season with an injury and had to miss some time. I think that's going to be the Raiders' backup plan. Put Thayer Munford at left tackle and get the rookie out there at the right tackle spot. Left tackle Andres Pete definitely struggled when he was out there. So as I said, if Kolton Miller were to miss some time, I think that's what the Raiders should end up doing. But overall, I liked how they both looked out there. And continuing with the offense, another position group that I liked was the tight ends. Our first round pick, Brock Bowers, showcased his versatility, lining up multiple different times in the backfield. And this is just in preseason, so the play calling was still pretty vanilla. But this is just a glimpse of what we can expect to see from Brock Bowers moving forward this season. The guy is super versatile. You can line him up in the backfield as like a fullback to potentially be a lead blocker. You could also run play action off of that, get him involved in the quick passing game. Shoot, sometimes they might even line him up as running back. He can obviously line up as a traditional tight end in the slot as well. The guy's super versatile. He looked good out there. We only got to see him for one drive, but that's totally fine with me. Just get him out there, get him used to the NFL speed, but ultimately we're gonna save him for the regular season. Brock Bowers will be a big part of the Raiders offense. I don't know how much they're going to involve him early on into the season, but the guy of this type of skill set, especially with us running a lot of 12 personnel, he's going to get involved. And even if it's not catching the ball out of the backfield, he showed some solid reps, pass blocking as well. And also Michael Mayer looked pretty solid as well. He's going to be another big part of our offense next season. Now jumping to the defensive side, the one group that I was really impressed with was the starting cornerbacks, and that is Jack Jones and Jacorian Bennett. In the first drive, Jacorian Bennett had a huge play with a pass breakup on 4th and goal where he was targeted and he forced a turnover on downs. That was a great play from him. And of course, we have Jack Jones, who had the play of the game on defense, had an interception. We got pressure on JJ McCarthy and forced him to throw an ill-advised throw, and Jack Jones cut off the pass for an easy interception. I love to see what we're seeing from these two, and hopefully this is going to be a theme for this Raiders defense moving into the regular season, getting opposing teams into 3rd and longs, getting our best pass rushers out there and forcing the quarterback to make mistakes and let these guys just make plays out there. So that's the good that I noticed from the Raiders preseason matchup. Now let's get into the bad, the certain things that kind of worry me that we're going to have to improve on. And starting off first was stopping the run. The Raiders struggled against the rush in this game. The Minnesota Vikings rushed for 142 yards on 22 carries, averaging 6.5 yards per carry. Needless to say, that is unacceptable. The Raiders are going to have to clean that up. That is not winning football right there, especially considering the fact that I said hopefully we can get teams into 3rd and longs, get our best pass rushers out there. Well, it's going to be hard to do if you're consistently giving up 5-6 yards on 1st down, getting them into 3rd and manageable situations. It's hard to win in the National Football League if you can't stop the run on defense. We got all this talent in our pass rushers and our defensive backs, our safeties, but if we can't stop the run, if we can't be a stout defense up front in the trenches, then that's really going to neutralize our defense. So that's something we definitely have to fix. Now, another thing that I was disappointed in this game, more specifically, a certain player was our 2023 first round pick, Tyreek Wilson. He doesn't really look that much different compared to last season. And really, Tyreek Wilson was one player I was super hyped about going into this offseason. You know, we all understand he was put in a bad situation last year. He was recovering from a bad injury. He didn't really have a real offseason. Now he finally had a true offseason to hopefully get healthy, and not only just that, improve on his game, get more versatile as a pass rusher, and I really didn't see that in last week's game. If you haven't done so, I have a video of all his snaps, and as you can see, he struggled on a lot of them, and he really didn't make a big impact. And really the thing that I am very worried about is he looks very one-dimensional still. Last year, he really just relied on his bull rush and his strength off the edge. You never really saw him with like a spin move or really any technique using his hands to get to the quarterback. What I noticed was his best snaps seem to come from the interior. And the thing is, if Tyreek Wilson can't fix that, if he continues to be one-dimensional, well, then more than likely, at some point, that's going to be his role in the NFL, an interior defensive lineman. And he may just be like a rotational type of player for this defense. You know, that's definitely underwhelming for a guy that you selected in the top 10. Let's be honest. When you're selecting a defensive end in the top 10 of the NFL draft, you're hoping he could be like the next Crosby, right? You're hoping he could be the next dominant edge rusher. It's not really panning out thus far from Tyreek Wilson. Now, I will say this is just one preseason matchup. I'm trying not to overreact, but it's just something that has me worried. I feel like really this was the time for him to kind of refine his skills, because once you get into the regular season, I feel like it's kind of hard to really focus on your personal game. So hopefully Tyreek Wilson can step it up and get a little bit more creative as a pass rusher, getting to the quarterback. Also too, I mean, the guy has really long arms, and one thing I would like to see is if he can't get to the quarterback, can he at least get his hands up to try to swat down the pass? But Tyreek Wilson was definitely underwhelming in this one. And the last thing that had me a little bit concerned was just the Raiders' overall run game. The Raiders rushed for 120 yards on 37 attempts, averaging about 3.2 yards per carry, and that's not really great. Now I will say our starter Zamir White on that first drive looked really solid, and he also got a touchdown inside the red zone, so that was good. But when our backup running backs came into the game, the run game really didn't shine. Also, one player that was very quiet was running back Dylan Labe. That's a player that I was also super excited about him going into this preseason. Very quiet game for him. Now, part of the issue too was in the second half, I mean, just the Raiders offense in general was kind of non-existent. Anthony Brown really struggled out there. And in the fourth quarter, we just ran the ball every time. We didn't even let Carter Bradley throw the football down the field. But this is still preseason. Like I said, Zamir White looked solid, but I just think that the Raiders offense, if they want to succeed, if they want to shine next season, they're going to have to be effective on the ground. Ideally, I wanted to see a nice backup running back like Dylan Labe or Alexander Madison shine. But ultimately, we'll just see how the run game develops into the regular season. That's when it truly counts. So that was the good and the bad from what I saw in the Raiders Week 1 preseason matchup. Now, the Raiders' next game was going to be against the Dallas Cowboys at Allegiant Stadium. And there's going to be a lot on the line for the Raiders, especially the starting quarterback position. Antonio Pierce has came out and stated that he wants to name the starter after this week's matchup. There's also a report that Gardner Minshew will line up with the ones on Saturday. So this is going to be a huge opportunity for Gardner Minshew. I thought he played really well last week, and he played with a lot of the twos, especially at the wide receiver position. So if he's out there with the ones, it's going to be a huge opportunity for him. I think if Gardner Minshew can replicate a performance that we saw last week versus the Vikings, he will be in a great position to win that starting job. And the same thing with Aiden O'Connell. If he can go out there and be effective, if he can get some touchdowns, he most definitely could win the job as well. It's still a close competition, and you never know. Maybe Antonio Pierce has a slight allegiance more towards Aiden O'Connell. So it may be a situation where if it's neck and neck, they may just go ahead and ride with Aiden O'Connell, give him the opportunity to lose his starting position in a sense. But of course, if he goes out there and he struggles and Minshew has a good game next week, I think it'll be hard for Antonio Pierce not to name Gardner Minshew the starter in that scenario. So there's a lot riding in this preseason matchup. Also, another news, today in training, our second round draft pick, Jackson Powers-Johnson, is officially back for the Raiders. It looks like he's going to participate today in practice in a limited fashion. But this is definitely good news. He needs to get back there on the football field, get as many reps as possible before the regular season. Now, ultimately, we're going to see whether or not he ends up starting. I kind of anticipated that he was going to start going into this offseason at the left guard position, but he's missed some time. And honestly, left guard Cody Whitehair played pretty solid last week. He also has a lot of experience in the NFL at the left guard position, was once an All-Pro back in 2018, and he is familiar with the Luke Getsy offense. So ultimately, we'll see. I feel like we shouldn't really rush Jackson Powers-Johnson. If he's not ready week 1, let him sit a little bit, let him develop, and eventually his time will come. And I think he will make a true impact on this offensive line. But Raider Nation, that's what I saw in this week's preseason matchup. Let me know what you guys think though in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear you guys' insights and opinions. Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this one, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.